If anybody ever tries to tell you that America has slipped, you tell them that we have the greatest internet radio on the planet Earth. And if you need tangible proof to show those people what you're talking about, you play them. The Mike Sasson Show. Hello, welcome. It is a special Memorial Day weekend edition of The Mike Sasson Show. I am Mike Sasson. I don't even know if that's grammatically correct. Who cares? Anyway, I am the host with the most. And today we're going to be discussing, can college kids take a joke? Can the NFL avoid stepping in giant pounds of giant poop because they can't figure out how to make sure that fans aren't pissed off at them? Hey, how about Queen? Did Queen save the 1980s for Alex Clemens? We'll find out later. Also, Alex has bar thoughts and experiences. It's about one of my favorite subjects, pornography. Also, how much is a piece of cheese worth to a couple? I don't know, but they're about to find out through the McDonald's Corporation. Also, what does it take to be a champion? Someone who has interviewed countless numbers of big-time athletes has come up with four things that he has found that great athletes have, and I will share them with you at the end of this program. Again, it is the Mike Sasson Show. Thank you very much for either watching or listening. You could be watching on Facebook Live as we record it on Sunday, or you could be listening on the River's Edge at www.riversedgepgh.com, or in TuneIn Radio on the TuneIn Radio app across the planet Earth, or you could be watching on YouTube or listening to several of the podcast formats, either Google Play, SoundCloud, or iTunes. Now, with me as always is the greatest producer in the history of internet radio. She is a first ballot Internet Radio Hall of Famer. If you ever want to visit the Internet Radio Hall of Fame, it is currently outside of an abandoned Rally Burger in Baton Rouge, Louisiana for the Memorial Day weekend. It is Alex Clemens. Alex, thank you very much for being here.
Oh, you're welcome, Mike.
Now, you will, I don't know if I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but you are back in town. You were not in town this weekend.
No.
So you were what we like to call out of town.
Yes.
So you were enjoying that, but I was excited because when I heard this, I was like, uh-oh, she might just sit there and just be enjoying the sun, enjoying her family, and just flip me the middle finger and say, I'm not doing that stupid guy's show. I don't care if I am the producer. He can produce his own stupid show. And I was like, yeah, I don't know if she's going to be here. And there was a feeling of euphoria when I walked into these studios and I saw the greatest producer in the history of internet radio. So thank you very much for cutting short your Memorial Day vacation to be part of this show.
Yeah, my sister left, so I was like, oh.
There's your ride.
Guess I'll leave, yeah.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with this show. It was just like your ride left, so you're like, I gotta go.
Well, no, I drove back by myself. But
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Why? Oh, no.
I don't know. I mean, what happens if you have a flat tire? There could be like ruffians.
Have you never driven anywhere by yourself?
I have massive ninja moves.
I can change a tire.
Really? I can't. I can't. People have brought it up to me and been like, "Oh, you just put it underneath the thing and jack it and then do that." I have no idea. I'd assume I'd ruin my car.
I'm really good at it.
Really? Can you show me? I'm serious.
I loosened a couple months ago. I loosened some lug nuts.
That sounds sexual if you do it in a certain way.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but I loosened your lug nuts.
But yeah, I loosened some very tight lug nuts.
You loosened some lug nuts.
And I was really proud of myself. I had to put basically my whole body onto the little thing. But
by the way, if a guy's if a porno name Lug Nuts,
yeah,
that'd be a good porno name.
Yeah.
You'd watch a guy
named,
oh, you got to see this guy Lug Nuts.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyways,
I feel like he would definitely like always wear a wife beater and just be super tatted up.
Yeah. That'd be Lug Nuts. Now, by the way, who taught you to change a tire?
I guess my dad,
Really?
or I just did it, or I just watched someone do it the first time that like my tire was flat, and I was like, okay, cool. But I think my dad taught me a little bit.
Yeah, my father probably. I don't think he ever even went over it. Like
Seems like something your dad would be all into.
No, not at all.
All the boys have to learn how to change a tire.
Nope.
You gotta play football, and you gotta know how to change a tire.
Well, my dad wasn't a huge football guy either.
Oh.
No, he was not. One of the weird things about me playing football, that was sort of my rebellion against my father.
Huh.
In that my dad wasn't a huge football guy. He was a big baseball guy. He actually ran track in high school. And so one of the reasons why I did football was because he knew nothing about it.
Right.
And so he all he knew was he'd go to the games and he'd see me and like he'd look at this, like he knew general stuff about football, but not like in-depth stuff.
You're so rebellious, man.
I know. I'm like, yeah, I'll play a sport you don't have no clue about.
You crazy kid.
I know. I'm just a nutso kid. And but like, yeah, changing tires, changing oil, none of that. Knew none. He would just take it to the shop. To this day, if I get a flat tire, I do have to call AAA, or now I have it through my insurance. And you do feel like less of a man when someone comes in and does it, and it takes like less than 3 minutes.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, you have to give yourself credit, though, because how many times a day is that person doing that,
Mm-hmm.
So eventually you're going to get really, really good at it. Like, it definitely wouldn't take me 3 minutes to change a tire, but close, maybe 4.
Let me ask you a question. When you do, like if you are on the side of the road and you need help from like the motor pool or whatever like that, do you tip the gentleman?
Depends.
What on?
On what they're doing for me.
Like, okay, your battery's dead. You're on the side of the road. They come. They give you the boot. You don't slip them $10.
I don't know. I feel like if someone tows you,
okay.
Like if I get towed somewhere, I definitely tip that person. But not necessarily unless they're like there for a really long time or something's really shitty. I don't think I'd tip them. I don't know.
What's the longest you've ever been in a tow truck? Like if you had to drive like a long distance with the tow truck guy?
The longest was actually I've never been in a tow truck until a couple months ago, and it was like maybe like a 30-minute drive. And he was such a dad. I was wearing jeans with holes in them. And he was like, "Hey, don't you know that there's stores that sell jeans without holes in them?" I'm like, Yeah.
And then he took you to a place took you to a place to get vegetables and stuff like that. The first time I was ever in a tow truck was my senior year of high school. Speaking of football, the Fabulous 22 came out, and I was wondering whether I had made the Post-Gazette's Fabulous 22.
Oh.
So because we lived in Aspinwall. Now, little did I know that if I'd have made it, they'd have told me like 3 weeks in advance. But, just a little hint, I didn't make it. Anyways, so we lived in the northern suburbs of Pittsburgh. But that year, Fox Chapel had competed in the Quad East, along with like Penn Hills and Central and all those kind of teams. So me being a naive person, didn't know whether I would, if I made the Fabulous 22, whether I would make it in Fabulous 22 North or Fabulous 22 East. So I sat there and I took the car and I drove. I was going to go find like a gas station in the eastern part of Pittsburgh to find a Post-Gazette to get the Fabulous 22 East to see if I had made it.
Okay.
So I'm driving and needless to say, I get in a big car accident.
Okay.
In the big Suburban, the family truckster, everything like that. So I'm on the side of the road, all this kind of stuff. And what I did not know, that I was in the city of Pittsburgh. The way the city of Pittsburgh works, which again is ass backwards, but it's very similar to a lot of things the city of Pittsburgh works. Most major cities, the way they do it is the dispatcher will call like a tow truck guy, and it'll be their turn. Like, I'll be like, "Hey, Jim, there's all that kind of stuff." That's not how it is in Pittsburgh.
No.
When they hear over the dispatcher that there's a tow, every tow truck driver drives up to you and tries to sell you on that you should do their tow truck. So I'm 17, 18 years old. I'm in the middle of Pittsburgh. I'm pissed, I'm distraught because of the fact that I've wrecked my freaking family's car. And all of a sudden, I got 15 tow truck drivers trying to get me on their tow truck. And so this one guy comes up to me and he sits there and goes, "I got a flatbed. You want a flatbed? Your dad's already mad at you. You want a flatbed because all of these guys are going to make whatever."
How dare he use your dad against you?
And I already sat there and I was like, "Yeah, you're right. You get the flatbed." And so he drove me to his his body shop, which was in East Liberty. And now remember, I'm Fox Chapel at the time. I had no clue about East Liberty, any of these places. So I drive into this place, and for the first time in my life, I was inundated with a truth that I have now found to be 100% accurate. If you ever want to hear the wildest conspiracy theories, sit down next to an old black man, and he will tell you the wildest conspiracy theories. So at the time, they had ticketed me because they sat there and said I could not produce my insurance card.
Okay.
And again, because I'm distraught and I have no idea. And it turns out my mom hadn't put it in there, absent-minded mom of 20 at the time. And so she sat there and they were saying, hey, we can't have you drive away. And the tow truck driver's like, he can't drive away. The car's undrivable. He can't do anything about it. So he takes me and he sits there and goes, I got you. So he got me and he put me and he drove me away. And I had to tell the story to everybody at the East Liberty tow truck place. And this old black man comes up to me and he goes, you want to know why they wanted to ticket you? And I'm like, why? He goes, because Newt Gingrich and the contract with America, they need the money to buy votes. And they're telling everybody that they need to make the most money possible. So they need to do this. And again, I was like, oh, okay. All right. I didn't know.
You believe everything that this guy says.
And so he had sat me down and started just giving me with every conspiracy theory that he had. It's like, that's why that the street lights don't work after noon is because if they do this, da-da-da-da. And eventually, the guy who would take me just taps me on the shoulder. He goes, oh, I need to talk to you about something. And I'm like, oh, okay. And he goes, oh, I was just getting you away from him. He'd talk your ear off for the next 5 hours.
Was it just some, did he work there or just some dude
no,
that
it's just
sits
some guy.
in the body shop? Okay.
It's just some guy.
Cool.
Yeah, it's just some guy who just hung out there. That was his place to hang out.
I mean, you got to have some place, right? And at least he's not drinking, because that would sure make it worse.
Yeah, he might have been drinking, but who knows? But he was just laying me with the ultimate in terms of conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's what makes America great. You can speak your mind, and if you want to speak about conspiracy theories, saying that Newt Gingrich was the reason why that the city of Pittsburgh wanted to ticket my car, that's how things work.
I mean, that just makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. Now, one thing that it was interesting this week because I was brought to the attention of two stories. And Alex, I'm going to attempt to link the two stories.
Okay.
Okay? Even though on the surface, they don't look like they would be linked.
Okay.
One is the NFL's policy on the anthem protests. Now, because you're alive and you've been watching, somewhat of television, that a lot of people are upset that certain NFL players have been choosing to protest, conditions in this country by taking a knee during the national anthem.
Right.
And so a lot of people are really super upset with this to the point to where NFL ratings are down probably 10%. Ticket sales, everything's down, and they attributed it to this. And to the point that Donald Trump has brought it up and said, these are awful people. The NFL should be all this kind of stuff. The other story was a Vice package, a news package that they had put together where they interviewed 3 individuals that book comics at liberal arts colleges in the Boston area. And the whole story was, why is it that college kids seem that they can't, quote unquote, take a joke anymore?
Yeah.
So here's what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to try to link the two stories because actually through thinking about it, Alex, I think the two stories are somewhat connected.
Okay, tell me, Mike.
All right. First off, let's do the NFL story.
Okay.
The NFL decided this week that they came out with a new policy that states that if you're on the sidelines, you have to stand for the national anthem.
Okay.
But if you don't want to stand for the national anthem, you can be in the locker room.
Oh.
So everybody sat there and went, well, that's chicken shit.
Yeah, no one's going to be on the field.
Because either no one's going to be on the field, so it's the same thing as kneeling, because if you're not on the field, then they know that you're not, patriotic as you should be, quote unquote. Or you're sitting there saying, if you're on the field, you're forcing these people to do something which they feel is anti-American, all this other kind of stuff. So the NFL stepped in a giant pile of dog crap because they were trying to more or less play both sides.
Right, but there's really no way to fix that.
Yeah. So here's the thing about the NFL they're having their problems with right now, Alex. The NFL is the most popular entertainment entity in this country.
Right.
The reason why is because the most people like it. And because the most people like it, and the fact that the NFL likes the fact that most people like it, they're in a situation where they've got to appease the most group of people.
Yes.
So they know that a certain section of their fan base feels that they love America and that these boys should love America. And if they don't love America, they need to get out.
Yeah.
They also know that there's a certain section of their fan base that feel that, hey, these players are thinking individuals, and they should be allowed to protest if they feel there is injustice.
Right.
So they're screwed.
Yes.
And the thing that I would sit there and say is the reason why this is connected to the other thing is because the NFL wants to appease so many people to make their money. All of this is about money. They know that a certain section of their fan base wants this to change in either way, and they want their money. So that's what they're trying to fix. It's all about money. It's all about appeasing the customers.
Yes.
Now, flip to the story that I had you watch from Vice, where they interviewed these three people who were there. One was from Emerson. The other one was from Lesley University, which had, full disclosure, had you ever heard of Lesley University prior to this?
No, I've barely heard of Emerson.
Emerson I know because of the fact that Crawford from WDVE went to Emerson. A lot of comics. Jay Leno went to Emerson. A lot of famous comics went to Emerson in Boston. So that university, Lesley, and then one other university in Boston that I had literally never heard of in my life. They're like these liberal. When I went to school in Connecticut, you learn that there's all of these little schools up in New England that have like 17 students, and it costs like $500,000 a year to go to.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I assume that no one from out of Pennsylvania knows what Point Park is either. People even here don't even know what Point Park is. So, same thing.
Yeah, kind of same thing. Anyways, so, and I mean, even in people in Park, I think that it would help Point Park if they would just pick a mascot. Because don't they have like 9 mascots?
No.
It's like Pioneers, and then they have like one of them's like a bison or whatever.
Yes, the bison.
Yes, but they also, some of them call them the Point Park Pioneers.
Yeah.
So that's 2.
So only 2, not 9.
They got to get but they got to narrow it down. It's not the Yukon Huskies and then the Yukon
Really, no
Renegades.
one cares though, because who is super concerned about Point Park sports?
Well, it's all about marketing,
No
people.
one.
Okay. Now, what does this have to do with the NFL thing?
What?
The people that run these universities know that their students, aka their customers, want entertainment that fits their worldview exactly.
Yes.
So they sit there and they go, well, we know that if we put anything on a stage that someone in that audience finds objectionable,
right,
we're going to hear about it. It's my job to make sure that no one ever is offended. And if someone is offended, eventually they're going to fire me. So we've got to more or less make sure that nothing gets on that stage that anybody could find in any way objectionable.
I think this is funny because, like, high schools aren't like this. You know, high schools are just like, hey, this is what's happening. Like that, maybe a parent complains or something, and they like change something, but it's not like a student, unless a student goes through a lot of effort to change something like this, it's basically going to go the same way. And then once you get to college, there's like, so they have all this more freedom.
I think the thing about it's because the students have a ton more free time.
Yeah.
B, I think because the students, especially the modern student, is getting in such immense amount of debt that they feel that, okay, if I'm going to spend literally $100,000 a year to go to this place,
better be good.
It better be good. It better be exactly what I want.
Yeah.
So, by the way, do you see the link that I'm trying to make between these two?
Yeah.
In both cases, even though they're both ends of the political spectrum,
yeah,
it's a situation where a business is trying to make it that their customers are happy.
Yeah.
And they're having a shitty hard time trying to do it.
Yeah, because there's no way to win.
Yeah, there's no way to win. But here's where I get to my point. Where have we gotten in this country that someone has to have their entertainment exactly how it's like they can't ever see anything in any way that could possibly be different than their current worldview? Why is it that, okay, I'm going to an NFL game, which I get. I've been to hundreds of NFL games. Okay, I've been a season ticket holder. Your family's a season ticket holder of the Steelers. You've been to a bunch of games, and you're grilling brats, you're drinking a few beers, you're wearing the jersey. It's about fun. Then you see someone taking a knee during the national anthem.
Yeah.
The way I would react is I would sit there and say, oh, he's probably upset about something. I wonder what he's upset about. Let me find out what he's upset about.
Right.
Maybe he has a legitimate gripe.
Yeah, maybe he's not just doing that for fun.
Yeah. Same thing in terms of my comedy. I don't understand why people, in terms of their entertainment, want someone to get up there and say, hi, here's for the next 45 minutes, here's everything you agree with.
Yeah.
I actually like it when someone, like, I feel the greatest comics are the ones that could tell me, okay, here's something you might disagree with.
Yeah.
But in 5 minutes, you're going to see my point, and you're going to somewhat understand that, okay, maybe you have a point.
Right. It's something that you've never thought of before.
Yeah. But apparently these college kids and these NFL fans so don't ever want to hear anything that is remotely different than their worldview that they're willing to just shut down and say, no, I don't want it. And I guess my question is, where did this come from? Where is it because of social media that we're in this kind of this narrow worldview? And because of the fact that people just feel so entitled that they just sit there and they go, I'm right and everyone else is wrong, and anybody who's against me is not only just a bad, it's not even just a bad idea, it's a bad person, and I don't want to even stand for it.
Well, I mean, I think now people just have the venue to put it out there. Like, I think that maybe people have thought this way forever, but they could never tell anyone else besides, the people that are around them. But now you can tell anyone.
Now, in terms of college, you have recently, in terms of, a couple years ago, graduated from college. Mm-hmm. When you went there, and again, Point Park is viewed as being a very liberal institution, very open, lots of different types of people. Why did you feel this, that there was a certain group of people that were like, no, this is the only way to think, and if you think any different, then you should be destroyed, and I will in no way ever allow anybody with a different viewpoint in my view at this university at any time?
See, I really didn't feel that way when I went to school. I felt the very exact opposite of that way when I went to my school, because I felt like I did have a lot of people around me that had super open minds and were kind of accepting of most everything.
But do you think that, let's say, for instance, if a super conservative Republican person went to your school and stated, here's why I believe in my super conservative, super whatever thoughts, that everyone at your school would have been like, oh, okay, let him speak?
Well, I mean, I think it would have depended on how you present that topic. If you're presenting it like, this is the only way, then no, they're probably not going to accept it.
But for instance,
both sides of it have to be open to anything.
But for instance, I was very actually embarrassed recently in the last year. The University of Connecticut made a little bit of news because there was a conservative speaker out, and they were kids that said they were damaged and they needed to get counseling, and and they were shouting them down and all this other kind of stuff. And I'm just like, if you disagree with the person, either A, walk out, or B, just sit there and then outside just say, wow, that guy was an asshole.
Yeah.
I don't get the whole concept of shouting the person down. And then in terms of comedy, again, I kind of get with NFL fans because this is their pure entertainment. But when you're in college and the whole point of university life is supposed to be you read different things, you experience different things, you experience different people, these people just seem to be so adamant that in no way would anybody ever give them a different worldview that they can't take it. And I'm just wondering, now even when I went to school, there was New England, University of Connecticut, very, it's a liberal place. Universities are typically liberal places. But there wasn't this idea of okay, if you think different to me, I am going to throw stuff at you and make it that no one will ever hear what you say.
Right.
And I guess the point is that I think it really stems from the fact that there's so many parents nowadays that create this environment, especially if the kid is affluent, to where it's like everything needs to go your way. You need to make the team. You need to always, you get the grade, you get everything like that, and nothing is ever going to go bad for you. So when you get into a college environment, you're spending $150,000 a year, you continue that of like, okay, no one is ever going to tell you that what you feel inside is wrong or different. But the problem is, once you've left that place and now you're in the quote unquote real world and someone actually comes up to you and says, okay, justify what you think.
Yeah.
Or actually, this is what I think and it's different from what you think. People shut down.
Yeah.
They sit there and they don't understand how to cope. And to me, if I was a dad and I was going to send my child to one of these universities, I would fight like hell to stop it. Because I'd sit there and say, I don't want to send my kid to a place where they're not going to be prepared for the real world.
Right. But I also think that this is huge, like a huge generalization, because I mean, there's not really. We hear this news all the time about millennials and that kind of generation that they, don't have an open mind and they're like closing themselves off to everything. But you also are missing a whole half of it where people aren't reporting on kids who are like, hey, I have an open mind, because why would you report on that? No one cares.
In terms of the story that you saw from Vice, though, those three people were specifically saying, like, it was.
They also didn't talk to students.
They did at the end. They said the person sat there and said, this is my safe space, and out there in the world it isn't safe, and in this place it's supposed to be safe. Yeah, but they didn't really
talk, like, they talked to students for a couple seconds and also completely made it so, like, oh, okay, we talked to 3 students here, and these 3 students said this thing. Like, they totally biased that part of the interview.
But I think the story was about the fact that comedians say they don't want to go to colleges anymore.
Right.
So then they talked to the people that booked the colleges and said, yeah, that's why we put these stipulations in contracts.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that we know that, like, one of them actually said, he goes, wait a minute, you're saying this is the most diverse, like the modern college student is the most diverse human beings in the world, but yet they only have one voice?
Right.
And really comes down to what you should have said was, here's the deal. If enough people complain, which could be 5 people, I'm out of a job.
Right.
And really, I have no marketable skills. My job is to book people at liberal arts colleges. I can't exactly go dig ditches or, work at McDonald's. I have no marketable skills. So the way I keep my stupid job is I make sure that I find the most vanilla crap comic on the planet. Which, by the way, if you're the comic that is showcased, which it was, that, oh, this is the comic they did book and did do okay, it's almost an insult in the comedy world, like, oh, these great comics say they won't play colleges, but here's the one that does.
Yeah.
You almost like sit there and go, okay, he must be the lamest comic on the planet Earth.
I mean, the probably the only thing that I liked about this video was the comic that they did interview. I did not like her, but I liked, we say all the time that, like, anything is funny if it's funny, and that's pretty much the whole thing about it, is that, like,
Judy Gold.
It's understandable for them to have a problem with the comedy if it's not a funny joke and you're just being insulting. You know what I mean?
Well, that's why I often say that, like, comedy it's the easiest thing in the world to figure out. If you go into a room and you say something that isn't funny, you're going to immediately know it.
Yeah.
There's no like, oh, I wonder if they liked it. No, did you hear silence? They didn't like it.
Yeah.
And so the whole concept of being a comedian, which I don't understand why a comedian would go into a liberal arts school and then try to do 20 minutes of rape jokes.
Right. Yeah. I don't know why that would ever happen.
Yeah. You're a complete moron, which I do see sometimes. Comedians will sit there and say, oh, I'd love to go work a VFW in Johnstown. They go work a VFW in Johnstown and they don't adjust. Now, the reason why, in my opinion, is someone said to them, hey, can you do 15 minutes? And you go, oh, yeah, I have 15 minutes. And then they do their 15 minutes and it's like, no. When I say, do you have 15 minutes? I mean, do you have 15 minutes for this room?
Right.
That means, like, I always talk to people, they sit there and they go, oh, I'd love to play cruise ships. Well, I know comics that do cruise ships. And they need to have 45 minutes to an hour for 6 o'clock, which means G,
right.
Another hour at 9 o'clock, which is PG-13, and then another hour at midnight, which is supposed to be completely blue for adults.
Right.
Which typically means it's not that you have an hour, it's, you need more like 3 hours.
Exactly.
And
that's what I didn't like about in this video, the people who are booking the shows. They were like, well, we don't book people, like we didn't book this one person because we had watched one of their videos from years ago where they did one joke about rape. And you're like, okay, well, they might have done one joke about rape at some point in their life, but they're not going to do this for your room if you have whatever qualifications you have for your room. Like, this is a PG-13 room. Like, tell them that, and then.
Well, the other thing that got me was the fact that they wouldn't even let a female comic describe her own experience.
Yeah.
Because it might, quote unquote, trigger something in the audience.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute, someone can't work through their own instance and possibly help heal a room or talk how they were healed and
Right.
fought through adversity on their own because someone in that room might find it objectionable. And I'm just like, then you're doing a crappy job as a university. Because the whole point of a university is you're supposed to make people, ready for the real world. And part of being ready for the real world is being able to overcome adversity.
Yeah.
And if someone comes up to you and goes, here's how I survived a horrible situation, that could help somebody.
Right.
Instead, they're like, no, there might be somebody in that room that, could possibly find it objective.
Right.
Which, again, it comes down to, if you want everyone to like you, you're typically going to have very vanilla, benign, shitty entertainment.
Yeah.
That's why when people sit there and they, like, for instance, I'll pick on him again, Jimmy Fallon. Jimmy Fallon wants every human being in the world to like him. Mm-hmm. Hence the reason why I don't.
Yeah.
Because it's just crap. But that's the way it is. But see how I connected those two, Alex?
Yes.
See how I did it? That's why this is the greatest internet radio show on the planet Earth. Another reason is because Alex drinks and then tells us what she thinks. It's called Bar Thoughts and Experiences. It's after this break. You're watching The Mike Sasson Show or listening to The River's Edge at www.riversedgepgh.com, where you get the best local music and the best talk everywhere, 24 hours a day across the planet Earth. My name's Mike Sasson. We'll be right back.
Come on, go. It's green. Come on. Go.
God damn it, Brian. You need to calm down
Yeah,
with
I'm
the road
sick
rage.
of these people, these assholes.
It's the road rage, man. You got to calm down on the road rage.
Well, I want to get to where we're going. We have a lot of great stuff coming up. We're going to Falling Water,
Bicycle Heaven.
the Mattress Factory,
Tuck Knob.
Trundle Manor. All right, which way do I go? Which way do I go? Come on,
right,
come on.
right.
Too late now.
Right, come on.
Well, too late now. I got to keep going. I'm not going to sit here like some asshole.
Oh, come on, man.
All right, you're listening to The Culture Cruise. You can find us at riversedgepgh.com.
Your local Pittsburgh area museum podcast.
Yes, riversedgepgh.com, and come take a ride with us.
Take a ride with us at The Mike Sasson Show. You're listening at www.riversedgepgh.com on the River's Edge Radio Network. Thank you very much to everyone out there who listens to the great local music and the great local talk on the River's Edge. Or you might be listening to us on TuneIn Radio across the planet Earth on the TuneIn Radio app. Or you might be watching us on Facebook Live or on YouTube or listening to us on any of the podcast formats, either SoundCloud, iTunes, or Google Play. And one of the greatest parts of this show is when Alex, the greatest producer and co-host that internet radio has ever known, likes to drink, writes down her thoughts. It's Bar Thoughts and Experience. Alex, play your theme song.
Maybe y'all can relate. My style's dope any way that you slice it. Here's a fresh cut, hope that you like it. About to open up a can of some cancer. When it come to pizza.
Alex, what happened to you this week?
This week, I was driving past these buildings.
Okay.
Okay, and I drive past them all the time, and they're on the side of Bigelow Boulevard.
Okay.
And they don't have any windows or like any address to their building, just like one door, nothing. There's always like a white van parked outside of these multiple buildings.
A lot of shady stuff happening.
A lot of shady stuff happening. So in my mind, I've always thought that porn happens here.
Okay.
Either porn or like I don't like slavery. I don't know.
Porn or slavery.
I'm just hoping porn.
Okay.
So I was actually in my car with my friend the other day, and I brought this up to him, I said, you know, every single time I pass these buildings, like, there's no windows or them on anything. Like, I feel like people definitely do porn in these. And he was like, why would they do porn in buildings without windows? And I said, have you never watched any porn in a building without windows? Have you never watched all the German dungeon porn? I don't remember his answer to that question.
And his answer was, yes, absolutely, and then starts pulling out his phone and says, let's watch them together. And you were like,
No.
Open Pandora's box.
No. Then we started, there's a bunch of places on that street that could definitely be really great for porn. So we started, like, directing porn in our heads. But then I realized that I do this all the time. Like, wherever I go, there's places where I'm like, hey, this would be a really good spot to do some porn. Like,
What makes a great spot for porn?
well, like today, I was when I was driving back from Maryland, I stopped at like an overlook, and it was basically there's a trail that went through the woods, and then there was just like a short little walk to this overlook. But when I was there, it was like a little bit rainy, but there was no one there.
Okay.
And it was like, this would be a really great place. It was like this beautiful overlook, you know, like a nice outdoorsy, you know, kind.
Let me ask you a question. Because there's two things I think at work here. One, you are a trained filmmaker, broadcaster.
Sure.
And so you are looking for places to where it could be great visually.
Yeah.
But I also think there's a part of you that says, you know what, I'd love to have sex here.
Yeah, probably. I'm pretty sure those are the two things. Except the buildings without all the windows, maybe not there. I
Okay.
don't know what they look like on the inside. But I was thinking of it like all those buildings without windows, like you could have such cool scenes in there, you know?
Well, I mean, that's all.
You could do whatever you want.
But here's the thing. Really what you're talking about is it a porn soundstage?
Yeah.
Because that's what, like if you've ever been in a soundstage, it's essentially just a warehouse.
Right.
And they just build crap inside of it.
Yeah.
So the point being is, again, like your friend being not the trained broadcaster that you are, understood that what you want when you want a soundstage is you want no light to come in, so you set the lighting.
Right.
Like that was one of the weird parts about working on Mindhunter was it wasn't a soundstage. They made it into one. It was an old jail in Greensburg. But in the same day, they made it look like it was California in the morning. And then when they were done shooting that scene, it was supposed to be later in the day, so they changed the lighting to make it look like all of a sudden it was late in the afternoon, even though it was only like 5 minutes later, like in real time. And that was one of those things of like, oh, that's what these people can do, because you want as much control over the environment as possible. Like when I took my film courses in college, the thing that they said what a director has is a director wants to be God. Because he could sit there and say, okay, I want it raining, but I want it to be light rain. And I want it to be like really super dark, but I want this one light and everything. He's God. He can create the entire scene, and that's what he wants. And like when you're directing porn, if you have the resources, which 99% of the time they don't, it's just a bed in a hotel room and they just don't care. But if you have any sort of money, they trying to create a situation where it's like, okay, it's nighttime and it's this and that's what I made this joke and no one got it, and maybe I just need to work on it more or just forget about it because it sucks. Whenever you watch most mainstream porn, what they do is it's shot in California and they rent out these insane mansions.
Right.
And so the thought process I had was whenever you watch them, these porno stars are typically in their 20s. The guy has like head to toe tats. The girl is kind of like a 19-year-old, looks like a very, decently attractive, but a girl that probably would not be in this mansion.
Lugnuts is there.
Yeah, Lugnuts is there. And the thing, Lugnuts is, or if you didn't watch earlier, is the name of a porno star that would be like a more working class guy.
I feel like that would have been better if you didn't explain it to the audience.
Because I found that sometimes we cut this up
Lugnuts?
and then like we bring back something from earlier in the show and people don't get it. So whatever.
I think it's better if you leave them in anticipation.
Okay, you're like, yeah, watch the earlier part of the show and you'll get what Lugnuts was. Anyways, so the point I had was, okay, wait a minute. This is a beautiful Hollywood Hills home that probably retails for $5 million.
And not to be presumptuous, but I can think of no career that these two people have to where they could afford this $5 million house other than drug dealer.
Right.
So really, when I'm watching these porno movies, I'm watching the sex life of terrible people. Of people that sell drugs or do like awful things, run guns for like ISIS. And oh, by the way, because they make this insane amount of money, they can buy this beautiful home and have this incredible sex. Because really, the people that own these Hollywood Hills homes, you'd probably have to be in your 40s or 50s. Like the actual person who owns the mansion is like a 50-year-old, orthodontist in Beverly Hills, and their sex life is nowhere near lug nuts and the 19-year-old girl who just came from Oklahoma.
Right. I feel like you definitely maybe think a little bit too much while you're watching these porns.
Yes.
My whole thing with the no windows was less about being in control of, the lighting and things like that, and more about no one seeing what's going on, but you're right next to a bunch of people. I feel like in my head, that's what makes a lot of porns really good. It's like that suspense of like, oh, these people are like right next to like a large amount of people, You
and like you like what they call the gonzo porn, which is like they just take two people and they go in the backseat of a car and they just kind of do it, and then they're driving down the street and you're like, ooh, could they be found out type deal.
Yeah, exactly. The almost public porn. Almost public porn.
Almost public.
Yeah.
Like,
I feel like that's very exciting for the people who are doing the porn. They're like, oh, we're right next to this highway. There's hundreds of cars driving on it every day. And like, no one's figured this out yet.
Yeah. So that's the kind of room that you want, where it's just like, hey, I don't know. I mean, like they do like the whole thing where they find the girl on the side of the street, which again, it's a girl who's been in like 9 different porns. It's like, oh, I don't know what's going on. And like, hey, would you like to make a little money? Oh, okay. And then they go to this room and there's like 4 dudes and then they do their business. And you're saying that that's probably, now would you think that much porn is shot in Pittsburgh?
I don't know. That's one thing I would really, really love to know.
Now, granted, I bet you there is some, but I don't think it's the massive like area where it's like, for instance, like the San Fernando Valley.
Yeah, I don't know anyone who does porn. I know one person that graduated from Point Park is a very successful porn director and actor. He's like...
Did you know of him, or did you know him?
I'm friends with him on Facebook. That's about it.
What's his stage name?
Oh, I don't remember. But, I mean, it's not very good. He's not very attractive.
Mm-hmm. That's one thing about, and I'm not trying to rag on porno actresses specifically, but when you follow them on Instagram, when they're made up, they look great.
Right.
But when you see them in like public, I always sit there and be like, you know what? If I saw you in the mall, I wouldn't turn my head.
Yeah.
And I think that's how most women who get into porn, is that they're... Like, I always sat there and said that, like, the porno actress is kind of similar to a guy who played AA baseball for the Seattle Mariners. Mm-hmm. Like, yes, if you met a guy who was a AA shortstop for the Seattle Mariners, you're like, wow, you're a great baseball player.
Right.
You're not Alex Rodriguez, but you're a great baseball player. So a woman shows up to Hollywood, and she's like, hey, I'm pretty. And they're like, yeah, you're pretty in Canton, Ohio.
Right.
This is Los Angeles. You're only 5'5". We need 6 feet. We need perfect bone structure. This is the major leagues of hotness.
Right.
So if you actually want to make a living here, you're going to have to do porn, because the Alex Rodriguez is of hotness, the Charlize Theron's, the Angelina Jolie's, those the Jennifer Lawrences of the world, they're the ones making the big time movies. You're the ones that have got to do the scene with lug nuts.
Yeah.
Now, what do you think of my theory?
I mean, yeah, I think that's probably mostly true.
So it's just
some
women.
People it's some people just have it in their blood though.
Well, that's just what they do.
Yeah, that's just like they would, ever since they were a small child, they're like, I'm destined for porn. That's what I was meant to do in this lifetime.
Well, that's one of the things that always weirds me out is they'll do like
In some porns, they do the interview.
Which I hate.
I hate. Everyone
Don't
fast
talk
forwards.
to that
Yeah,
person.
everyone fast forwards through the interview. I don't even understand why.
I wonder if I want to meet people who actually watch those. I
There's
think I
somebody who
hate
does.
those people.
Yeah.
But I would
There's
like
someone
to
who's
meet
like,
one.
yeah, I want to know everything about her when I see her, whatever. And so one of the things that always gets me is they'll always say, so how old are you? She's like, I'm 18. And I'm like, so how long have you done porn? I've done porn for 8 months. And I'm like, well, how long have you wanted? I've wanted to do porn for like 5 or 6 years. And I'm like, so that means you were like 12 years old? And you were like, I want to do porn. And I'm just like, don't tell me that.
I think those are just more of like a liability reason that they do those interviews. So it's just like, oh, okay, this person isn't completely being forced into this.
But even then, you can lie on camera kind of deal.
Yeah, definitely. But, yeah, I don't know. I would like to meet someone who watches those.
Yeah, I've never met one.
then
Those are
stop
clearly
being
the
friends
most
with them.
fast-forwarded things in the history of the world.
Definitely.
I don't know. But guess what? If you do it, God bless America, and I hope you keep watching the show.
It's like previews for porn, which they should have.
They do have previews for porn.
You mean like in the beginning of them, they have like little clips from other ones?
No, they have flat out like trailers for other porn.
Really?
Yeah.
Where?
In the beginning of, see, I think the thing about you is because you're purely the internet porn, you didn't experience actually having to get a porno tape.
Yeah.
At the beginning of a porno tape, there would be like 3 minutes of previews for other porns.
See, that's what I would want to edit. If I was going to be a porn editor, that would be my thing. Just the previews.
You'd want to just do the trailers.
Yeah.
What would be the keys, would you think, to make sure that the person would... Because the whole point of a trailer is to get someone excited about, hey, I got to see that movie.
Yeah, but not too excited where it gives everything away.
Yeah, you don't want to give away the plot.
Right. But only a little bit of the plot.
But here's the thing about the porno trailers is a lot of times we wouldn't even get through them because they'd be enough to do what you wanted to do. That was one of the keys about like the movies is because like they'd be like 6 hours of blah, 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 blah. And that tape you could have for like 5 years because you couldn't get to the end.
Right.
The
You just fast forward to like different times. You're like, okay, this time I stopped here.
Yeah. The craziest people in the world are the people that can watch porn after they're finished doing what they're doing.
Oh.
Like those people are like, if you sit there, I got to watch the end. No, you're a psycho. If you're done with what you want to do and you're like, I wonder if the mailman does get to deliver her package.
I think it probably depends on what you're watching.
Mm-hmm.
If it is an interesting story.
I've never seen a porno with an interesting story.
That you're like, I need to see the ending of this.
And I've seen a lot of like 70s where they did have stories.
Yeah.
And even then I was like, I don't care.
See, I want to have more of a sitcom or like a drama. That's a whole TV series, but also porn.
Well, okay, then that's almost what they used to have on like Cinemax and HBO, the whole like secret desires, and it'd be like they'd have it and then they'd bang and then they'd go try to solve a crime.
Good acting though. I feel like that's probably where
people
they went wrong.
tried this. That's what that was the big deal with Showgirls. Showgirls was supposed to be the first mainstream NC-17 movie that had a plot and everything like that. And it failed miserably, even though to this day, it's like 20-something years later, and people still know what Showgirls is.
Yeah.
So in a way, it kind of did succeed, but it succeeded, it became a cult classic because it was so badly done, and it kind of killed that whole idea of an adult film with nudity, but a storyline.
Yeah, I'm going to do it really good, though.
You're going to really write the story good.
Yep.
That's what Alex Clemens is going to do for the people. She's going to come up with the adult film where you really want to care about what happens towards the end. It's going to be her and the Burt Reynolds character in Boogie Nights. That was his goal. You ever seen Boogie Nights?
No, I haven't. I've heard enough about it, though, I think, from you.
I haven't spoken about Boogie Nights that much.
Enough to where I know, like, the
You just don't want to see a Mark Wahlberg movie.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. By the way, he's coming to Pittsburgh.
I just saw, like, 20 minutes of a Mark Wahlberg movie the other day, and I'm like, ugh.
But he's coming to your hometown. This is your chance to tell him off. This is your chance to sit there and say, hey, quit with the acting.
No.
I think you're missing out on a chance.
I don't want to give him that
satisfaction.
He doesn't even get that.
Okay. Anyways, thank you very much, Alex, for your bar thought and experience. Coming up next, now is my segment in which I break down something that I really love and tell you why it's great and why it sucks. It's great. Pff, that sucks. Play my song. This week on Great, That Sucks. It's Memorial Day weekend,
It is.
which means one thing.
What?
Grilling.
Oh, I thought you were going to say drinking, because definitely that too.
Okay, but grilling, big time. It's summer. Are you big time into grilling?
I can't grill.
do
I
you-
like when people grill for me.
What do you mean you can't grill?
I'm just not good with like that amount of like fire or things that could catch on fire. I'm just not. I don't mess with that.
See, you're
kind of
playing
stuff.
into my thing because I love to grill. So I sat there and I says, okay, Mike, come up with the reasons why grilling sucks, which is why it's this week's topic for grilling. Great, pff, that sucks. Number one reason why grilling just kicks butt, it is dangerous. It's flames and it's charcoal and it's lighter fluid. You need to be a professional. Like, hey, I know what the hell's going on. Keep the kids away because I know what I'm doing. You can't be. I'm dealing with fire. I'm mastering one of the elements of nature here.
Yeah, I'd be the person to like grill off, like singe off all of my eyebrows because of grilling.
That's right. It's dangerous. That's what makes it great. Now, one of the things that make it suck, it is dangerous. That's what makes it suck. You people do get hurt. And kids are around. You're always worried if there's little kids are going to touch it and all this kind of stuff. And so that's one of the reasons why it sucks. And one of the reasons why it's great. Isn't it weird how they both can be the same? Anyways. All right. Number two reason why grilling is great. You're outside.
Yeah.
It's sunny. It's sky. It's beautiful. It's summer. You're enjoying the great outdoors.
And then it smells good.
And well, I don't know. One thing that's getting me is when there's the new mulch. And then you don't remember what mulch smells like. And you're like, oh, what smells like crap? Oh, it's mulch.
I meant the grilling makes it smell good.
Oh, okay. I'm just thinking
So
about
you're making the outdoor smell delicious.
Mm-hmm. Anyways, one of the reasons why it sucks is you are outside. Rain, cloudiness,
Are all of
thunderstorms.
these just going to be the same thing?
No, just the first two.
Okay.
Number three reason why grilling kicks butt, meat tastes good.
Yeah, that's true.
Burgers, chicken, fish, it's meat, it's death, it's everything that makes protein. It's manliness. It's what it is. It's just meat and it tastes awesome. One of the reasons why it sucks though, unless someone screws it up. Because that's the thing. You need someone who knows what they're doing. Because if they over grill, the thing tastes like crap. You're just like eating a piece of charcoal. And you're just like, this sucks. And you have to eat. You're like, oh, burger tastes great. And you're just like, this sucks.
Today I was at McDonald's and I saw like they had an advertisement and they just had like a raw beef patty and then they like flipped it and cooked it. And I was like, oh my God, that made me want a burger so bad.
Hold that thought because we're bringing that up in news.
Damn.
All right. Number 4 reasons why grilling kicks butt. It's primal. Like I meant, it's fire, it's meat, it's feeding your family, it's sizzle. It's like you're a caveman again. It's that kind of feeling. That's why when they say men love to grill, because it gets back to that, we're in the cave, we've killed the animal, and now I will feed said family.
Right, yes.
Number 4 reason why it sucks. Everyone wants to start before the charcoal is done. That's why everyone likes gas grills, but the charcoal's not hot enough, and why is it not hot enough? And then you have to pour lighter fluid. Well, I don't like the taste of lighter fluid. And then, you got to throw newspapers, and then there's black soot everywhere and all this other kind of crap. Sucks. Number 5 reason why grilling is great. Cleanup is easy, and it ends with s'mores.
That's true.
Like, again, everyone's eating paper plates. You just throw them out. It's a lot of cans. You just throw it away. It's real easy. It's outside. You just spray the hose, all that kind of good stuff. And s'mores are awesome.
I'm not happy that both of this week and last week you talked about food both times because it just made me extremely hungry. Like all of last week, all I was craving was a hoagie.
Wow.
Finally got one on Thursday.
How did it take you that long? There's several hoagie-related places where you could get one on Sunday night.
Yeah, I know, but I wasn't going to do that.
Oh.
And
so you just stayed hungry.
Yeah, I waited until Thursday. I was like, oh, thank God I finally get a hoagie. I've been craving one of these all week because of Mike's stupid thing.
What'd you get?
And now I got Italian hoagie from Penn Station.
I thought you were going to go to that Tom's place or whatever.
Tom's?
Whatever, the place you said.
Danny's.
Andy's, I don't know.
Danny's.
Danny, I don't care.
It's delicious. You should care. I was
Okay.
going to bring you back hoagies today, but
You don't like me?
based off of that reaction,
I would
feel
enjoy
like you
a
wouldn't-
hoagie at
you
any
probably
time.
wouldn't have
You
cared
have an
anyways.
open invitation to bring me hoagies at any time.
Yeah, be like, oh, cool, Danny's cool, whatever.
No, I would be
Blah.
very happy.
Yeah.
You've really almost never done anything
Well, maybe
for
you
me.
should just appreciate Danny's more before I bring you them.
I have
You
never
to
tried it.
prepare
How can I
yourself.
appreciate Danny's something I've never had?
You have to prepare yourself and be excited for it. And
Well,
then
text me
maybe-
and say, I'm bringing a Danny's hoagie, and I will mentally prepare. All right, great. And number 5 reason why grilling sucks. Leftover barbecue stuff rarely tastes good the next day. Like if you get a day-old hamburger off the grill, that's not exactly good eating. Whereas like day-old pizza, awesome. Day-old KFC, I honestly think is better than like warm KFC. There's certain foods that taste great the next day. Barbecue is not one of them.
Just like hoagies.
Just like hoagies. Anyways, that was great. Pff, that sucks. It's the Mike Sasson Show. Next. Did you shut down my mic before him?
No.
Okay.
I was trying to shut you up, but I
Yeah.
couldn't.
Failed again. Anyways, next, Fresh Eyes. I'm trying to save the 1980s in the eyes of Alex Clemens, so I had her watch the famous 1985 performance of Queen at Live Aid that was voted by a group of rock and roll experts. Who are those people? I don't know. As the greatest performance in the history of rock and roll. We'll ask Alex, did it meet her standards? Who knows? We'll find out in a couple minutes. It's Fresh Eyes next on The Mike Sasson Show. You're listening to The Mike Sasson Show on www.riversedgepgh.com. And remember to like The Mike Sasson Show if you haven't, so you get all that great Mike Sasson goodness. We'll be right back.
Brian Crawford letting you know that Kevin Slogic, my State Farm agent in Allison Park, is here to help life go right and reminds you that you're listening to the River's Edge Radio Network.
It is the River's Edge Radio Network at www.riversedgepgh.com or on TuneIn Radio app or on Facebook Live or on SoundCloud, iTunes, or Google Play or YouTube. We have a segment where we have Alex watch a movie or read an article or a book or whatever from the past. We call it Fresh Eyes. Alex has not been a huge fan of this segment because I've had her watch stuff she's not a huge fan of. But one thing she is a huge fan of is this song that I'm not a huge fan of, but play its theme song. Alex?
There's no love like a country girl with money.
Anyways, this is Fresh Eyes. So
It's a great way to start a segment. Ugh.
So last week, I had Alex watch another 80s video, and she made the comment that so far, not a huge fan of the 1980s. So I sat there and went, as a special gift for the Memorial Day weekend, I said, let me find something that I could possibly find from the 1980s that Alex could possibly like. So I saw that someone wrote an article about the greatest live rock and roll performances of all time. And number 1 on the list was Queen with Freddie Mercury, Brian May, Roger Taylor, and John Deacon at Live Aid. Now, if you don't know what Live Aid was, back in the mid-'80s, there was a gigantic famine in Ethiopia. And it was just terrible. Like hundreds of thousands of people were dying. Governments weren't doing enough. So this man named Bob Geldof got together and initially did the song, Do You Know It's Christmas? And so that did that.
Right.
USA followed up with USA for Africa and did We Are the World.
Yeah.
And still, they were trying to raise more money because what happened was these entities were raising a lot of money to get food, but they'd get the food down to Ethiopia, and these countries were so corrupt that the trucking companies were charging exorbitant fees to get this food to the camps where the people were dying.
Right.
So Bob Geldof sat there and goes, well, we need our own trucks. And the guy's like, yeah, that's going to cost like $3 million.
Yeah.
And so he's like, well, let's do something. And so he put on this concert called Live Aid. Now, Live Aid was at 2 locations mainly. One was Wembley Stadium in London. The other one was JFK Stadium in Philadelphia, which is currently torn down.
Right.
But it was the first big-time satellite broadcast
It was, it was incredible. It was happening at the same time. And pretty much anyone who was performing in the mid-'80s or from the past performed at this show. Just to put it into perspective, who was on the London show? Dire Straits was on, Money for Nothing. U2, which was the show that ultimately kind of broke them and made them into something. Sting, with Police and everything like that. David Bowie, Elton John, The Who for the first time reunited in a long time,
Aww.
and Paul McCartney for the first time in 6 years. He had not performed since John Lennon died, and this was the show that he came back. But everyone agreed that who stole the show? Not The Who. It was Queen.
Yeah.
Now, I had you watch not only the performance, but also a little documentary to give you a little bit of a backstory on
Yeah.
it. So first and foremost, had you ever heard of Queen?
Yes.
Okay. Had you ever seen or heard of Live Aid?
No, not before this.
Okay, so you never heard of Live Aid?
No.
Okay. So then you watch this documentary, and essentially to give a little backstory, Queen had been formed in 1970, had been big in the 1970s, had a couple hits, but they had kind of run out of steam, and kind of the new, Britpop thing was like Duran Duran, and all these people were kind of popular at the time. And so when these guys came on stage, everyone was just kind of like, you know what? I don't know if these guys are going to do anything. They're
Right,
kind of
yeah.
over. And Freddie Mercury specifically went out and absolutely fucking killed it.
Yeah.
Now, had you ever seen, obviously you had never heard of Live Aid, had you ever seen this performance before?
No.
Okay. What, in terms of fresh eyes, did you pick up on the performance? Did you like it? All that kind of good stuff.
I did like their performance. It seemed like a lot of fun. I mean, I think it's pretty incredible to get that much of an audience engaged in something, especially if people weren't expecting a lot at all.
Yes.
And to be able to get those people from 0 to 100 in not that much time and have every single person in the audience participate in something, I think is really amazing.
And the fact that it wasn't their audience.
Right, yeah.
They weren't there for a Queen show.
Yeah.
They were there. And also, it was hour 6. It was a hot day in England, which means
Yeah.
these people are not exactly prepared for hot days. They had been there for 6 hours. They show up. Now, the one thing that I think that there's an old saying that the Beatles, when they started writing songs, they had this saying where it says, "Don't bore us, get to the chorus."
Right.
And as an entertainer, I've always told people in big situations, if you're trying to grab an audience, don't sit there. I hate it when comics kind of get up there and they go, "How's everyone doing tonight? How are things? This is great." I'm like, you got 5 minutes, tell me a joke.
Right.
These guys, you can learn a lot from them because they didn't sit up there and stand up there and go, "How's everyone at Wembley tonight? Isn't this
Right.
great?" Freddie Mercury waved to the crowd, got right to the piano, and started playing the first bars of Bohemian Rhapsody.
Right, and it's not like they obviously went to the ones that are like, okay, this is going to pump up a whole crowd, obviously, and these people know the song, they're excited about it, they know that that's what people want to hear. So yeah, I think that's definitely a good thing on their part.
Now, had you ever seen anything that Freddie Mercury, the lead singer, done? Had you seen any of his other performances?
Yeah.
Okay, what do you think of Freddie Mercury? Because the one thing that always gets me with Freddie Mercury is at that time, people were kind of whispering, but it wasn't completely out that he was bisexual or gay man, whatever.
Right.
But if you watch this performance now knowing that, it really is to a point of he's really out there.
Yeah.
He's strutting it.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things. I think that's one of the reasons why modern frontmen are not as good is because there is this kind of self-consciousness of well, if I act like that, am I acting?
People are going to think that.
Yeah. I'm not. And I'm almost you kind of have to just as a performer understand that you just go out there and just do it.
Just literally give every single thing that you have.
And the thing that also I find is anytime I play in front of big audiences, and I've watched this video 100 times because it's a great lesson on how to perform in front of big audiences, is everything that Freddie Mercury was doing was big.
Yeah.
He had big hands and big movements and all this kind of stuff, and that was by design.
Yeah, it's like doing a musical.
Yes.
When you're doing a musical, people are going to be far away. You have to act extremely way bigger than you would if you were doing a movie or something like that.
Now, one of the things that struck people about the performance was in the middle of the performance, he does the
Yeah.
he just gets the whole crowd into it and all that kind of stuff. I always think that that's it. People say what balls it took to do that. I don't know if people were just going to be like, you'd be like, hey, oh, and everyone just silently just sits there.
Right, yeah, that's kind of true.
Yeah, but I mean,
like if someone's next to you doing it, like, and you're there, you're most likely gonna do it.
Now, okay, which do you like Queen songs? I mean,
no, not really. I mean, I think I like them. I like them because, so like I used to dance to Bohemian Rhapsody. So one, I like it for that reason because it's more memories than anything else. But I like the songs because they do have that effect on people. It's like everyone knows Bohemian Rhapsody. Like if it comes on in a bar or something, like everyone's gonna sing it. So I like it because of that. But if that wasn't the case, I don't think that I would like it as a song.
Now,
and like most of their songs are exactly like that.
Well, let me ask you the question. Everyone's heard We Will Rock You.
Yeah.
Everyone's heard We Are the Champions.
Yeah.
One of the things that I love about those two songs is they specifically wrote those songs for a stadium.
Yeah.
They specifically wrote those songs to get the audience going.
Yeah.
Because if you really listen to We Are the Champions, it's like, where does this come from? It's not, is it about him? Is it about whatever? And he doesn't say, like, it's not, I am the champion. Because somebody, like, he'll sit there and, like, in his song, he goes, I've got fame and fortune and everything that goes with it. I thank you all.
Yeah.
But again, he says, we are the champions.
Yeah.
And it's, we will rock you.
Right. And people relate to it.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the great things about, like, and I've done this and I've tried to in my low level of entertainment, is if you ever go to my comedy shows, I do things. I love it. No. And I do things that I try to get the audience to participate.
Right.
Like I do say, hey, say hell yeah, if you know, and I kind of learned it from watching these type of events to where, like, okay, if you're at a big venue, you have to get the people in the back of the room kind of involved, or you're just kind of sitting there and all that kind of stuff. Now, can you think of anybody right offhand that performs now that could do what Freddie Mercury did at that performance?
I don't know.
I could only think of two.
I think it's hard because we don't have a ton of shows like this. So I'm like thinking of people who are like that big that people love them.
Like Bonnaroo and those type of like big festivals they have.
But they're still mostly going to see that performer because there's multiple stages and stuff like that. So you're mostly still going to see that one performer. It's not this show where it's like, okay, you have one stage and there's all these acts. Like you're there and you're there, you know, and you're going to see whatever you see. So, like, I feel like that's a little bit hard to compare because I was thinking, like, oh, maybe Beyonce could do that. But everyone who goes to her shows are there for Beyonce, you know?
So it's one of those things where it's such a unique type of situation where, you know, they can't leave. They're there. Those people might have been there for Paul McCartney. They might have been there for Dire Straits. They might have been there for U2. But it didn't matter. This guy completely, absolutely killed it. Which, okay, as a front man, where would you rank Freddie Mercury after seeing this as a front man? Can you think of anybody that you could say is a better performer than him or in the same kind of category?
In the same category. I don't know. When I was watching him, I always just think of Prince whenever I watch him.
I think Prince would be in the same category.
Yeah. But I would put Prince above him, I think.
If Queen was still around, definitely Queen would have been a band that had been perfect for like the Super Bowl halftime show.
Yeah, absolutely.
That type of crowd, you know, that kind of, hey, get the crowd going and stuff like that.
That's literally their thing.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that and they're making a movie about him and all this kind of stuff because it's one of those things of like they don't make performers like this anymore.
Right.
Because I just don't think that there are that many people that kind of, and we talk about like having everyone like you. It takes a certain type of performer to be the best at a stadium show.
Yeah.
Like Queen would not be a band that I would be like, oh, I'd love to see these guys in a club. No, I want to see these guys in an 80,000 seat stadium.
It's the fact that there's that many people around you that are feeling the same, you know, kind of thing that you are. Yeah. That's the whole kind of
We Will Rock You doesn't work in a club.
No, yeah, exactly.
We Are the Champions does not. It's got to be with 80,000 people swaying side to side.
And it's crazy to think about that Queen got to be that big with that music. Do you know what I mean?
Like what? Rock music?
No, just because of like their music is so it appeals to a large crowd.
Yeah.
And like having to work up to that, they didn't obviously start playing in front of crowds like that,
Well, the thing that got me is the fact that when they got to that point, they wrote songs specifically for that.
Yeah.
Like, and it's weird to always I am very interested in how artists create. And so anytime there's any like behind the album or behind where they sit there and they go through each thing, I always watch it because I really am interested in it. And one of the things that, like, for instance, Motley Crue did is when Nikki Sixx wrote the lyrics, he always wrote the lyrics to where people could chant in the audience.
Yeah.
Like, he'd be like, shout, 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 shout at the devil. He wrote in that because he imagined he was in an arena and everybody's fists were pumping. Same thing with like Van Halen. It was Panama, dun, dun, dun,
right,
dun,
yeah.
and I don't know if today's artists write songs to where people would be pumping their fists and doing, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess everyone is kind of going for that niche. Like the biggest artist right now is the This Is America, that song. But I would be like, I don't know if it's an amazing song and an amazing video, but I don't know how that would be worked live.
Right.
Like it wouldn't be something to where people would be chanting, "This is America, this is America." And so I don't know if that's good or bad, but it just really is something that is interesting that it doesn't happen as much anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that it sets you apart when you do write music like that. It puts you into basically like a whole different genre of not even like what music you're playing. It's that you're playing for a crowd. So I definitely think that
there is such a thing. People talk about arena rock.
Yeah.
Like this is designed for a large group of people. It's not a guy who sits there and is strumming the guitar with two people in a club. No, this is meant to be in a giant setting.
I don't know if I feel like a lot of artists today don't necessarily like that's not what they're creating for. Like you said, they're kind of appealing to like, oh, this is for me and like I'm sharing it with the world. Do you know what I mean? I feel like more people today are like that than they are playing for a crowd.
But one of the things that gets me is like, for instance, with like Metallica, their two of their biggest stadium anthems was written from their second album, Ride the Lightning, when they were still an independent band.
Yeah.
They were so poverty-stricken, they were sleeping on the floor of the recording studio because they couldn't afford a place to sleep.
Right.
And yet they wrote Fade to Black and Creeping Death and For Whom the Bell Tolls, which are giant stadium anthems.
Yeah.
But they wrote them when they were an independent album. So there is part of, it doesn't even necessarily matter if you are at that point. It's almost like if you're planning on it, like we're going to be a big band. This is a song that will work in a big room.
Yeah.
Even though right now we can't afford to sleep in hotel rooms right now.
Right, yeah.
So, I don't know. It comes back to fake it till you make it. But let me ask you a question. Did this performance at all at least ease your hatred of the 1980s?
Maybe a little bit. I don't know. I probably wouldn't have wanted to be at this show anyways.
That's one thing, though. I don't know if I remember watching it. I was a little kid. I remember I'd be like 8 or 9 years old. I remember watching it, and I remember thinking, where do these people go to the bathroom? Because it's an old stadium, and they're kind of sitting there, and they're all together, and they're there for they were there for 12 hours. So you got to think, it's got to be hot. Now, I remember being at Woodstock 99, and it was super hot. But we could at least mill around because it was a festival and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We weren't stuck like this for, next to a guy for, 12 hours.
Yeah, see, Queen is still one of those bands that I would never go out of my way to listen to them. If they're on, I'm like, oh, okay, cool, I'll sing along, whatever. But I would never ever go out of my way to play their music.
See, I would have loved to have seen these guys live just because to see Freddie Mercury do what he could do. That'd have been pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that would have been pretty cool to see.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what else is pretty cool to see?
What's that?
News and notes from the world of sports and gossip and all sorts of cool things. Play the song.
It all starts now.
first story relates to what we were talking about earlier with hamburgers. McDonald's has come out with, they've kind of redesigned the quarter pounder with cheese. So what they used to have is 4 ways you could get the quarter pounder. You could get the quarter pounder, the double quarter pounder, the quarter pounder with cheese, or the double quarter pounder with cheese.
Right. That's so many.
Yeah. Now they're just like quarter pounder with cheese, double quarter pounder with cheese. Now you can request, hey, can you please give me the double quarter pounder with cheese, hold the cheese, and they'll let you do it. But they charge you the same price, where they used to cut it by 30 to 90 cents because you weren't getting the cheese.
Yeah.
Now, as I mentioned before, how much is a piece of cheese? Cynthia Kistler and Leonard Werner from Miami, Florida, are so upset with this, the fact that they have to maybe spend 30 cents more than they believe they should because they do not like cheese on their quarter pounders, are suing the McDonald's Corporation for $5 million.
They just go somewhere else. When I was younger, I remember we used to always get like nothing on our burgers because we were plain as shit and boring kids, I guess. And we would always get nothing on our burgers, just like straight up burger. I don't even know if we got cheese on it. I don't know.
Burger, buns, you were good.
Yeah, but I wouldn't expect to get like 30 cents back because I didn't get fucking pickles on it.
Well, see, that was the point
that
that McDonald's is making is like, okay, if you ask for us to change the burger, we'll do that, but it's the same price. This is what it costs. Because think about the complete confusion you'd have for the kid behind the counter if it was like, let's take the Whopper at Burger King. Yeah, I want the Whopper, but I just want the meat patty.
Yeah.
Okay, well then how much does the meat patty cost?
Exactly.
Oh, it's 75 cents. Here, 75 cents, here's the meat patty. Oh, you want one bun? Then it's $1.
And that's literally how it is everywhere. Every single restaurant that you go to, if you want some kind of modification done to it, you're either, if you want more, you're paying more. If you want something off of it, you're not getting money back because of that. That doesn't make any sense.
And the thing is, they're saying that they are justified in $5 million for damages because they feel that they have been damaged emotionally by the fact that they have to spend money on cheese when they don't want cheese.
Have you ever been in a situation where you're like, man, this would be a good time to sue right now? Like, I could probably make $5 million off this. I'm so upset about this that this is a thing I should sue about.
I have lived in retail, and I just have met people that are so linked to their lawyers that they feel that that's their way to get. We have one in the White House right now. Yeah. His big thing was always sue, sue, sue. Counter sue, doesn't matter, just sue.
Yeah.
And I think there are certain people that feel that that's how you get what you want. You just sue. So it's like, oh, McDonald's is now charging me more for a burger that I feel I should pay $5 million.
See, these people have to have the amount of money to be able to sue McDonald's.
Yeah, that's the thing.
So, just go somewhere else. And also, why do you care about this amount of money? You definitely have the money to pay the extra 30 cents.
Here's where I think the law should be changed. If a judge feels that a lawsuit is frivolous, they should be forced to not only pay damages and say, okay, you're gone, but you have to pay damages to McDonald's and pay for their lawyers.
Yeah.
So you had to sit there, okay, because you brought us here, because that's one thing that always, it's one of the biggest BSs that rich people have over poor people, is they'll sit there and say, okay, we'll just sue you.
Right.
And because we have the money to pay for the lawyers and you don't, you're going to quit because we're just going to just forget it.
Yeah.
And I really do believe that there are certain people that are just like, okay, McDonald's is going to go up to these people, write them a check for $20,000 and say, here, go away.
Yeah.
And that's BS because, again, McDonald's shouldn't have to pay a dime for this, but it's going to cost them, $10,000 in lawyer fees to go to this place and be like, this is stupid.
Right.
This literally should be their brief. They should hand it to the judge, and it just would be like, this is stupid. I don't know.
I wish I could be a judge and just be able to say that to people.
I would be the best judge and yet the worst judge. Because I'd get thrown out because I would just be I'd be too real, Alex.
Right.
I'd be just too real. Mm-hmm. That and I have no real knowledge of the law. All right, next up. A family
out down south. They homeschooled their kid.
Okay.
So that's why I think this is kind of BS. They homeschooled the kid, and he got great grades.
Okay.
He got a 4.79 GPA.
God damn. How do you even figure? I don't. Okay. Whatever.
90% of the kids at Fox Chapel, we always had like 37 valedictorians.
That's absurd.
Because
that
everyone
you
would
can
take
even get that.
AP classes and their weighted classes. So if you had a 4.0, you didn't get to be a valedictorian. You always got to be a valedictorian because you took 9 AP courses, and so we'd always have 98 valedictorians, and they all got to speak. And that's why I've been through 8 graduations, because each one of my family members graduated, and there's always be 97 freaking valedictorians, and they all have their own speech because they all got it. And I would just be like, dude, a valedictorian, there should be one valedictorian. One person is the valedictorian.
I don't think
One
we even
speech.
had that. I don't think we had. Well, I mean, I guess had a valedictorian, but I don't know if they didn't give a speech. You had to apply to like give a speech. You had to have a certain amount of grades, and then you had to like give a test speech basically, and then apply to give the speech at graduation. Great idea.
Go to Baldwin High School. That's way better than the Fox Chapel method. Anyway, so this guy, Jacob Kaczynski, got a 4.7 GPA, which means he got magna cum laude. Okay? Mm-hmm. And so the mom said, I'm going to get you a cake that says, congratulations, Jacob, on getting magna cum laude. So he went on the website on Publix, which is like the giant eagle of like down south,
right, and
plugged in Magnum, I love that TV show, Magna C-U-M laude. Now, C-U-M got flagged for being pornographic, so they wouldn't let him do it. So when he got the cake, what does it say, Alex?
It says, congrats, Jacob, and it's summa cum laude, but it doesn't say cum on it. It says, it just has little hyphens there.
It has little hyphens on it instead of cum. Now, the thing about it is the fact that he feels that he was humiliated because his friends were there, and they all giggled and went like, and then here's the worst. The grandma had to be explained why they wouldn't put C-U-M on the cake.
My problem with this is, did you not look at the cake before you left the stupid grocery store and be like, hey, could you fix this?
Well, here's the thing. Like, yeah, anytime I've gotten a cake and you sit there and say, happy birthday, John, you're supposed to look at it to make sure they spelled happy birthday, John, right.
Didn't just put like a giant penis on your cake.
Yeah, apparently this mom didn't do that. So that's a good catch.
Good thing on her.
Yeah. So, and also you could just get blue, just C-U-M. Fine, whatever.
Right.
Or go someplace, or maybe go to a decent bakery, not Publix. Anyway, so the fact of the matter is also, I love the grandma doesn't know what C-U-M is. Where's she been living? She had kids.
She's very proper in her sexual terms. I think that's just it.
I don't know. My grandma would have been like, nose come. You know, I don't know.
Maybe if it was me, I would have maybe just like cut a little piece of cake like right there and taken that out before I like showed it to anyone. I'm like, there you go.
But I love he said that I was humiliated. You're an 18-year-old kid and it got you publicity.
I hope that his name for the rest of his life by his friends is just cum.
Is this Magnum Cum Laude?
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I think Lug Nuts would be in a movie called Magnum Cum Laude.
That's true.
There you go. Also, I think the fact that, homeschooled 4.79, I call bullshit on that. You're in your house. Yeah, I don't. Would you ever homeschool your kid?
No, only because I know that I wouldn't be able to properly teach them anything. I don't want them to end up with the same brain that I do.
Well, my problem would be part of becoming educated is dealing with kids.
Yeah.
And if you don't know how to deal with human beings, then I don't care how smart you are, you're not getting very far in life.
Yeah, I don't know. It kind of depends on how you homeschool your children, because a lot of people will put them in activities and stuff like that so that they meet other children, so they're not losers, you know?
Losers. Speaking of losers, so this past week, Jack Johnson, who was the first black heavyweight champion of the world, who back in 1910 was the biggest baller in the history of ballers. In 1910, he had white girlfriends and was like flaunting the fact that he was banging white chicks and had money and all this kind of stuff. And they hated him so much that they came up with an act in which it was illegal to transport white women across state lines for nefarious reasons. It was supposed to be for like sex trafficking, but it really was the black guys banging white chick law. It was called the Mann Act.
Oh, okay.
So actually, Jack Johnson got convicted of this, had to spend a year in jail, and lost most of his money because of this.
And that's not cool, but I feel like of all things to go to jail for and like be okay in jail, it's probably that. You know, everyone's just kind of high-fiving him.
Yeah, because you're the former heavyweight champion of the world, and you were getting it for like having white chicks.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Yeah,
so I'm sure he
you're
wasn't
doing
like
pretty okay.
Yeah, I'm sure he wasn't like the least popular guy at jail.
Yeah.
So okay, but here's the thing, and I thought this was kind of cool. Sylvester Stallone, Rocky, because he's an artist. I mean, he's an actor and stuff like that. Knew Donald Trump, calls up Donald Trump and says, hey, this guy still has this BS conviction on his record. This is totally racist. Why don't you give him a presidential pardon? And so Trump, because he loves Hollywood stars and publicity, decides to do it. So he pardoned Jack Johnson, so no longer he has a record that he had this thing, which was a good thing. Kudos to Donald Trump for doing that. But here's the point that I wanted to make. Are you showing the picture of Sylvester Stallone?
I am now.
Okay. As you can see, Sylvester Stallone, who played Rocky, on one side is Lennox Lewis, who was at one point the heavyweight champion of the world. And on the other side is Deontay Wilder, which, by the way, this is how bad heavyweight boxing is right now. That's the heavyweight champion of the world, and I have no idea who he was. Okay. But on both sides, you're seeing them and their reach in terms of Sylvester Stallone. And this was on Sylvester Stallone's Instagram page. He goes, yeah, Rocky might have had a tough time beating these two. And the thing that gets me is it kind of shows how bullshit the concept of Sylvester Stallone ever being the heavyweight champion of the world.
He does look tiny as hell.
Like, that's one of the things that always was... I remember when I was in college, my strength coach says he could never watch Rocky because he's like, Sylvester Stallone weighs 175 pounds.
Yeah.
He doesn't even qualify to be in the heavyweight division. And so I always find it funny because, like, in Philadelphia, they have like statues of Rocky, and he was this and he beat Clubber Lang. No, I'm like, dude, he's a character. He's a TV.
Right.
This shows again how ridiculous it would have been, the concept of Rocky beating anybody. These are two actual heavyweight fighters, and that's actually how big Rocky was.
He's so cute.
Isn't he? And I actually like that, Sylvester Stallone has a little bit of a sense of humor about it, going,
absolutely, yeah.
Like, yeah, I'd have gotten my ass kicked.
Yeah.
This is completely, it's a movie, folks.
Does make me like him more.
There you go. Also, other things going on in movies. What's his name? Morgan Freeman.
Yes.
Big trouble.
Oh, gosh.
Because of the fact that a lot of women have come out and said that he sexually harassed them and assaulted them. I know, we now don't have Morgan Freeman.
I know, I can't deal with that.
Yeah.
I really can't.
Yeah, no more
Morgan Freeman. I want to hear these people's stories. I don't know.
Apparently he would bring up, he was trying to lift skirts, and he would rub people's backs. And
just like, can you even, I don't know.
Okay.
It's so crazy to think about, and I feel like we have such a warped view of everyone.
Okay.
Of Morgan Freeman. Like, you would never expect that.
All right. Now, here's the thing. James Caan, who's his buddy,
yeah,
who was interviewed by TMZ. You know when they always, like, interview the person like he's trying to get into his car and stuff like that?
Yeah.
So James Caan gets interviewed, and the guy screams, like, hey, what do you think of your buddy Morgan Freeman getting in trouble? And this is what James Caan said. He goes, we live in a weird world where a man can't hit on a woman anymore.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you a question.
Okay.
As a woman.
Yeah.
There's a big difference between sexual harassment and assault.
Yes.
And being hit on.
Yeah.
Is it that these guys are from a different generation to where, like, grabbing a girl's butt was like, hey, I like you kind of deal, as opposed, like, what is okay, tell the people at home, especially if they're from maybe more of a older generation, how you are supposed to hit on a woman.
I don't even know how would be the best way to go about hitting on a woman. But I feel like...
How is the best way to hit on you? How would have you liked to been hit on?
Maybe not the first thing is you grabbing my butt.
Not the first thing.
Not the first thing.
Yeah, maybe
that's what I feel like that's a very circumstantial thing to do. Like, I don't think that you can't just do that to people. You can't just walk around grabbing people's butts.
Okay.
I don't think that's really going to get you anywhere in life.
Okay, have you ever been insulted? If a guy is, let's say, in a proper situation, not necessarily out in a, well, let's say it's out in a bar. Guy comes up to you and says, hey, I think you look great in that shirt.
Yeah.
Do you find like, oh my God, don't look at me that way? Or you're like, oh, thank you very much.
Yeah, I'd probably say thank you.
Okay, so that's maybe just, can you now in a work setting, do you ever feel that that's inappropriate to say, hey, Alex, you look great today?
No, I don't think that's inappropriate.
That some people do. So you're saying in Alex's world, if someone did say, hey, compliment you on how you're dressed today, something like that.
Yeah.
Now, if you did say, yo, Alex, body's banging, man.
Body's banging.
Would you sit there and say that's maybe inappropriate?
I mean, yeah, it'd probably be inappropriate, but I think I might still be happy about it.
Yeah.
Depending on who it's coming from.
Yo, your
Like,
ass.
hell yeah, my body's banging. What
Your
up?
ass
High
don't know how to.
five.
Yeah, your ass don't know how to quit, and then you're just like, it's right.
My least favorite questions to answer are, so Alex, being a woman, those are my least favorite questions to
Really?
answer. Yeah.
How should I have approached it?
There's no good way to approach questions like that because, I mean,
But that's different because again, I am not a woman.
You are not a woman.
I don't know. Again, a woman hitting on a guy. Pretty much, if a woman came up to me and grabbed my butt in a bar, which has happened, I would sit there and I usually just kind of turn around and go, "Oh, okay," and like, but. Again, I'm a 6'4", 300-pound man.
Yeah, also probably not. So like, you're not like, yeah, I'm gonna go home with this woman. She just grabbed my butt.
It depends on how attractive the woman was.
Yeah, that's pretty much all.
99% of the time, I've turned around and it's a 55-year-old woman from Brownsville.
Yeah, exactly.
And
it's never a great dude grabbing your butt first thing.
But I don't sit there and be like, don't you dare ever touch me again.
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, whatever.
But I mean, like, if I was in the workplace and someone like came by me and grabs my butt, I would not think that was appropriate.
Yeah, workplace is different.
Yeah.
I would just say the best rule with the workplace is don't stick your pen in the company ink.
Yeah. Or maybe just don't ever grab anyone's butt unless you really know them.
Even then, I think that even if
you gotta have a certain kind of relationship.
Even your wife if you, let's say, in a certain situation where it's like, in public, like it's a professional setting and it is like your significant other, if like your boyfriend just went in work and just went bam and grabbed the butt, you'd probably just be like, hey,
we're being professional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd probably be like, hey, this isn't the place to grab my booty.
I wouldn't need
even
to.
though he probably, yo, your booty's banging. And you'd be like, thank you. But that's
definitely. High five.
High five. So
your body's banging today.
So
Alex.
because James,
I wish more people said that to me at work. It's like, I come into work, your body's banging today, Alex. I'm like, hell yeah. What up?
What if they said it in a more professional manner? Be like, hello, Alex. I was just wanting to notify you that your body is banging today.
Yeah. I think I'd be all for that.
I think it's all, honestly, just do a really bad British accent, like I just did. I think that helped.
What happens if you're already British?
Then you have to do a really bad American accent.
Ew.
You ever seen, isn't it weird when British people have an American accent?
Yes.
You're like, what the hell are you at?
Yeah. I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world, but...
No, it's the worst thing in the world. It's the worst thing in the world.
I mean, I think it depends, because some people think American accents are, like, the worst American accents, Like, everyone's doing a Boston accent. And I'm like, that's not all of America. Some people talk normally.
That's one of the things about, Boston accents are always very weird, but that's one thing when people sit there and say, oh, can this person do an American accent? They always talk about the fact that, there's different American accents.
Right.
No one does Pittsburgh accents. You either do a New York.
No one does that.
You do a New York or you do a Southern accent.
Yeah.
Now, there are different Southern accents. When I lived in Texas, I found out Texas accent is everything's fast. Hi, Alex, your body is banging.
Yeah.
That'd be a Midland accent. That's why when George W. Bush talked, I could tell he was from Midland.
Right.
Because that's how Texas people talk. Everything's fast. They sit there and they go, okay, I'm going to be on the Mike Sasson Show. That's how I'm going to be on that show because Alex's body is banging.
Right.
And then they go from there. Whereas Southern Georgia is a little bit slower.
I like that kind of Southern accent.
You like a little slower one. I don't know. I always figure it's anytime. I guess that is one prejudice that I do have when someone just you know what? Here's what I think about the current election. I just go, boom.
and I just kind of have a tough time listening.
Yeah, that's pretty mean, Mike.
I know, but I'm being honest. Anyways, someone else who is being honest is someone who talks about Hipster Cities. An organization put together a list of the most hipster cities in the world. Now, the funny thing is that New York City, Austin, cities like that were not listed, but look which number, I think it was number 17 or 18, Alex, which city came up?
Oh, Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. There you go.
Gonna continue your sentence.
Yeah, I said, Alex, look. So Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania actually was listed as the 18th or 17th, I forget.
Can I ask you who made this list?
It was some travel magazine.
Because it seems like they might not know anything, or no, maybe not that. Maybe I can't see Tampa, like Tampa, Florida, being a super hipster. I don't know. Maybe they are. I haven't been to Tampa, Florida, ever. If maybe, I don't know.
Well, here's how they found out. They counted the number of coffee shops, tattoo parlors.
This is a fucking stupid way to find out.
They did a bunch of like those type of things. And that's why like New York didn't make it, because like the amount of people as relative to the amount of tattoo parlors did not meet. Whereas Pittsburgh, we have a tattoo parlor for every half person.
It almost seems like they ran out of places by the end of it. They're like, okay, I guess this one counts. Yeah, we'll put that on the list.
Well, like Richmond, Virginia is on there and stuff like that. Which
I don't know. I haven't been to a lot of these places. I can't see, like Las Vegas is the one that really gets me. Mm-hmm. Like Las Vegas.
But if there's
how many hipsters are really there?
But I bet you there's a ton of tattoo parlors.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. 'Cause Las Vegas, I don't think is a super hipster place. That's like the literal opposite of a super hipster place in my mind.
Yeah.
It's like to me, I don't think a lot of hipsters are going to casinos all the time. You know?
I hear you.
But I mean, good for Pittsburgh. Woo.
Woo Pittsburgh.
Woo us. We did it. We made it.
Woo us. Now, speaking of wooing us,
yes.
A gentleman in North Dakota decided to take part in a giant, in a half marathon. Mm. And so what he did was he sat there and he gets in the race and he's getting in the zone. He gets his headphones on. And he thought that both races started at 7 a.m.
Okay.
So at 7 a.m., he's on the starting gate. He's probably listening to like Eye of the Tiger. He's getting ready. He's ready to go. So they start. Everyone starts running. He starts running. He's running.
That's
all of a sudden he sees a sign that says full marathon course. He's like, oh, okay, so we have the same course for a little while.
Yeah.
Keeps running. Keeps running. Notices this is taking a lot longer than he thought it would. Maybe whatever. Figures out, oh shit, I'm in the real race. He actually ran a full marathon without even signing up. And here's the bullshit part. He goes up to the people and says, hey, I was supposed to be in the half marathon. I actually ran the full marathon. Can I get the medallion that says I get a full marathon? And they went, nope, because you signed up for the half marathon.
Ah, damn. Well, they might not have, on their side, they might not have had enough medals.
I think that's why, is because they essentially were like, hey, we don't have enough of this shit. So, but I mean, like, there had to be one guy who, like, pulled a hamstring or got sick and didn't finish theirs. Take his.
Yeah, but they might not know that at that time. I'm proud of him.
That'd be pretty cool. I think that's how you got to run a marathon. You can't. I've always felt that you psych yourself up to the point to where you're like, hey, I can't do a marathon. It's 26 miles. It has to be like by accident. Like, I think if you were drunk enough and like you just started jogging and you're like, it's funny. And then like, again, if you don't care about how long it takes, and then eventually you're just like, hey, Alex, you realize you just ran 26 miles? And you're like, no shit. And that's the way to do it.
My favorite way to, like, I have a step counter on my phone.
Uh-huh.
And my favorite thing ever is when I go out dancing, you know, like I go to a club or whatever, and I wake up in the morning. It's like, Alex, you already have, like, 12,000 steps. I'm like, hell yeah, I'm doing great for the day. I have 12,000 steps,
when I woke up.
I put 12,000 steps because I read that like some Hollywood guy, that's how they made like Chris Pratt lose weight, is they didn't want him to run because he didn't want to hurt his knees. So I set in my thing in my phone at 12,000 steps so that like I get a little bing like, hey, you did 12,000 steps. And that's one thing that is kind of cool, but I don't know if it's real. Like, I guess, I mean, because I've never been like, hey, they always go like, oh, actually burn 300 calories. But I think that's like just you burn 300 calories by kind of like living type deal.
Well, I think it's kind of stupid on your phone because like I'm not always carrying my phone with me, so it's pretty inaccurate.
That's one of the things that always gets me with like the whole like thing is like I always get pissed off. They'll also be like, oh, you only did 500 steps. And I'm like, my phone was in my car the whole time. And I'm not getting...
after I just walked 16 miles. Damn.
I always remember, like, because you can find, like, the days that you walk the most, and you always remember, like, that, like, oh, my God, yeah, that was the day I was in, like, I walked to and for the Strip District and all this kind of stuff, and, like, that was the day that I did, like, 82,000 steps or something ridiculous.
Yeah. I am proud of this guy, though. My friend Eric ran the Pittsburgh half marathon this year, and we all kind of doubted him.
Like that he could do it?
Yeah, he was like, because he basically was just like, oh yeah, I'm going to do the half marathon. We're like, have you ever ran in your life? He's like, oh, no. And we're like, okay, we should probably get started training now. This was back in like the fall.
Uh-huh.
And he was like, no, I'll be good. And then eventually he started, but he had never run that far. He had only run maybe like 3 miles at most. And a half marathon is 13 miles.
Did he do it?
Yeah, he did it. He did it really well. He was just like, I just kept running. I just didn't stop.
Yeah, that's pretty much all.
And then he did it in like less than 2 hours, which was way faster than any of us had ever expected.
See, I think that's one of the things about like, if you're not concerned about like beating anybody,
right?
Then you just kind of just keep
like,
going.
I just gotta finish.
You just keep going. Which at some point, I
still don't think I could do it.
I could do it. It would just take me like 3 days.
I would really want to do one of those ones where you get to drink during it. I think that seems, like you're doing a beer and taco marathon.
But
like,
I think you that's a great idea until the day of when you're like running from taco place to beer place. Speaking of tacos, I don't know if you knew this. This is completely off the subject. I tried Sheetz tacos.
What?
Yeah.
Sheetz has tacos?
Yep.
What says when? Are they new?
Like the last 2 weeks.
What? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going.
Pretty good.
Really?
Yeah. Like I would say they're not that far off Taco Bell.
Like would be really good when you're drunk?
Oh, insanely good when you're drunk.
All right, I'm going.
Yeah. So
I gotta get someone to drive me to Sheetz.
Yeah, and you get like 3 in a box and stuff like that. So they're pretty good.
All right.
So I just wanted to tell you. And also, remember a couple weeks ago when we had that story about that guy out of Brooklyn that was pissed off at what was it, Top Hat or hot whatever that ice cream?
I don't know what you're saying.
You don't remember a couple weeks ago?
What was he pissed off about?
That he said the diet ice cream wasn't good.
Oh, Halo Top.
Halo Top, yeah. I tried Halo Top too.
And?
Very good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Better when you're drunk?
Anything's pretty much better when you're drunk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I was going to say that, but I just wanted to know the real verdict.
But if you're drunk, you're not getting Halo Top. You're going to go to like McDonald's, even though the ice cream machine's going to be broken.
It depends. Are you drinking vodka and sodas? Maybe you are getting Halo Top because you're concerned about your health in the morning, but you're still going to binge.
You know what? That's why Alex is producer extraordinaire. All right. Now, final story. This headline really threw me.
Okay.
Read the headline. It's about Hitler.
Oh, okay. Hold on. It says, Hitler not alive on the moon, study confirms on May 28th or 21st.
But to me, that's one of those what's that, clickbait?
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's almost like one of those things, wait a minute, someone actually did a study to where they went to the moon and they found that Hitler was never there?
Hitler not alive on the moon.
Hitler actually not currently living underwater.
This makes me think that I could be a scientist and do studies like this.
Yes. Well, here's what actually happened.
Okay.
Which is a lot more boring.
Oh, damn it.
So a couple years ago, there's always idiots who think that Hitler survived World War II and he like went to Argentina, or he eventually went to America, and they got him like all these. There was all these theories that Hitler lived to be like 132 years old, all this other kind of crap. Well, the Russians claim that they had a skull fragment and some teeth from Hitler's grave, because what the official report is that Hitler with Eva Braun took some cyanide, shot himself in the head. His butler then took the bodies and burned them, and then the Russians found them, and they took what was left and did whatever.
Right.
So these French scientists sat there and went, you know what? We actually have some like dental records from Hitler and stuff like that. If you still do have teeth and stuff like that, we can figure out whether you actually do have Hitler, like if Hitler was dead at that point.
Right.
So they did, and here's what they found out. Yeah, he's dead.
Yeah, clearly. I don't think that he's going to be alive anymore.
He died in 1945. He didn't go to the moon. He didn't go to Argentina. He shot himself in the head being a big loser.
And what, did people think that like the moon just preserves your body?
I don't know.
You can live to like whatever, even though no one has ever lived on the moon. Just Hitler. Just Hitler could do that in 1945.
Well, I think people just have this idea because they don't. If people like Hitler, which by the way, if you like Hitler, kiss my ass. Anyway, so like they wanted to pretend like, no, he was too smart for that. He was going to start his Third Reich in someplace else. No, he shot himself and he ate cyanide, and the Russians found him because he's a big tool.
If he was that smart, like, don't you think that, I don't know, Germany would have been the first people to the moon?
Well, they always claimed that the German rocket program was way ahead of the Americans, and it is true that the Americans took a lot of those scientists and brought them back to America, like right before the war's end, and said, here's the deal, you're now NASA scientists. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. So a lot of our rocketry program actually were based on like German scientists.
Okay, well, that maybe supports the Hitler thing.
Yeah, but no, he died in 1945 like a big pussy. Anyways, this show, the people that watch it are champions.
Oh, yeah.
And you're always looking to get better. And I saw this article and I thought it was pretty cool, and I'd like to share it with my listeners and watchers or whatever the hell you are. It was this guy who has spent his life interviewing great athletes like Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Mary Lemieux, Wayne Gretzky, Tom Brady, all these guys. And he sat there and someone asked him, like, what makes, the Tiger Woods of the world, all these type of great athletes, outside of just genetic, greatness.
Yeah.
And he said, well, there's 4 attributes that all of them have.
Okay.
Which I think is pretty cool. So I'm going to give you these 4 attributes. Here are the 4 attributes from this guy. Number 1 attribute that he says that every great athlete has: humility. Now, he sits there and says, like, no, what are you talking about? Great athletes are cocky and all this other kind of stuff. He goes, no, they're confident, but they have the humility to understand that they have gaps in their game.
Right.
And they know that they need to work hard in order to get better at what they're not good at.
They can always be better, yeah.
Yeah. Number 2, they seek constant feedback. Mm-hmm. They don't sit there and think they know everything. They constantly go to their coaches. They constantly watch film. They're always looking for just an edge. They're just, from people, all that kind of good stuff. Number 3, every morning, in his words, every day starts at 0. And what he sits there and says is that every great athlete he has ever said, at the beginning of the season, the beginning of the day, realizes that any success that they had in the past doesn't mean shit.
Right.
They start the day at 0. They don't sit there and say, oh, I won last year, so I can. No, they're constantly working towards the next year. And number 4 thing is they're always learning and they're always asking questions, which I feel kind of relates to the feedback one.
Right.
But the point being is they're always like, they don't feel they know everything.
Yeah.
They're always like, for instance, there was a story recently. And it was kind of like Ichiro, which was a baseball player for the Seattle Mariners, played until he was 44 years old. And there was a story about the fact that he saw on his phone a phone number that he didn't recognize. And so he goes up and he's in the training room and he goes, hey,
I got this guy who just messaged me and said, I got your number from Alex Rodriguez. I'd like to meet with you sometime in Florida in the next couple weeks to go over your stretching routine. And he goes, who sent that? And the guy goes, I don't know. Who the fuck is Tom Brady? And the joke was that Ichiro, this baseball player who was Japanese, but, been in America for 16 years, didn't know who Tom Brady was.
Yeah.
But one thing that is not kind of pointed out is the fact that Tom Brady thought so much of like trying to get better. He sits there and goes, hey, this guy's been playing until he's 44. Let me contact someone who might know him, get his cell phone number, and completely out of the blue say, hey, I'd like to meet with you to go over your stretching routine.
Right.
Like I remember one time they told the story that Sidney Crosby was invited to go on the field for a Steeler game. And they thought he was just going to come for right at kickoff and watch the game and all this kind of stuff. He came 2 hours early.
Yeah.
And the reason why he wanted to was because he wanted to watch and see how they prepare for their game.
Yeah.
And the guy who wrote this said, he goes, now understand, this is how he's found great athletes become great. But he says you could do it in any aspect of your life.
I mean, this is basically just being what it takes to be a good human.
Well, I mean, become great at anything. You either want to be a great broadcaster, you want to be great at comic, you want to be great at, mopping floors. You need to have the humility to know that you have gaps in your game. You need to want to have constant feedback. You know that every day your past accomplishments don't mean anything, and you're always learning. Which I think is a great, if you want to talk about like what you can learn from athletes and take into, being a great businessman or great anything, I think those are nice 4 things.
I agree.
There you go. And because of that, we will do our last segment, which is Comment Your Ass Off. Play the song, Alex.
Okay, I will. Give me 1 second.
No problem.
Say hello to the world. Say hello to the villain that's been.
So we always read your comments. And remember, comment even after the fact, because we do read the comments. And thank you very much for your comments, because we always want interaction. And also come up to us and ask about, like a guy came up to me at a bar. And last week I had talked about the fact that I thought it was weird that someone doesn't introduce themselves and they always feel that I should know them. And so he came up to me and said his name because he said, see, I don't think that I'm that person. So there you go. So all good things. How many comments do we have today?
Not a ton. Basically, everyone just wants to say hello. Patrick says hello.
All right.
I waved.
Okay.
Sam says, is the show done in front of a studio audience? It is not.
No.
They would not like us.
Every week we ask for studio audience members and we can't find any.
Yeah, we literally have a studio that could have an audience, but no.
We have bleachers and everything.
Sam also said hello, and who are the guest stars on tonight's program? Just us.
Yep.
We're the guest stars. We're stars.
Yeah, I would say we're stars.
Robert also says, hey, Mike. Thanks for leaving me out, Robert. It's fine. It's fine. I didn't want,
now you make Alex feel jilted.
It's fine. Yeah,
whatever. But remember, Alex, keep your humility.
Yes.
Make sure you get constant feedback. What's the other ones?
Oh, my God.
Make sure you start at 0 and always keep learning. Again, thank you, everyone out there in Radio Land, for the great feedback. It's the Mike Sasson Show. We are back next week with more internet radio hijinks. Again, enjoy your Memorial Day weekend. Enjoy your families. Enjoy America. And again, make sure you have a little bit on the soldiers, the reason why we have these great freedoms, the soldiers that we've lost in the wars. Okay. Thank you very much. Enjoy everything. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.